So if contempt is the destination, then resentment has to be how we get there. Resentment is a gradual process, one that slowly eats away at the foundation of trust and commitment within marriages. Now, sadly, I've seen so many people struggle with resentment and they just don't know how to work through these intense negative emotions. Hi, my name is Stalin, and today we're going to be talking about resentment, what it is, how it develops, and how we can begin the process of healing. So with that, let's get into it. Simply put, resentment is unfinished business, a buildup of unresolved hurt in relation to an unmet need that has been stored instead of expressed. The person who's experiencing resentment is indirectly saying, "You've hurt me over and over and over, but I can't safely tell you. I'm afraid of being ignored, abandoned, or shown that I have an unreliable partner." It's a mashup of emotions: fear, in that you'll do it again; hurt, in that there's been emotional damage; and disappointment, in that my partner has not reliably shown up. So how does resentment actually develop? Most of the time, it doesn't start with something huge. It begins with small moments where we feel disappointed, dismissed, or emotionally unseen. At first, we might try to brush it off, telling ourselves, "It's not that big of a deal," or "Maybe I'm just overreacting." But when those moments repeat and our feelings continue to go unacknowledged, something starts to shift inside of us. We stop feeling safe to express what we need, and we start storing those emotions instead of sharing them. And over time, that unspoken pain hardens into resentment. And resentment thrives in silence. It grows in the space between what we feel and what we say. And the longer that gap stays unaddressed, the more distant and disconnected the relationship becomes. This is how we eventually get to contempt and emotional detachment. So we've talked about this idea that resentment can build when a person's needs go unmet, over and over and over again, for weeks, months, or even years. However, resentment can also be an indicator of emotional immaturity in the person holding on to the resentment. Now, before you click off this video, let me explain. Part of the reason someone's needs might not be getting met is because they've never really learned how to communicate those needs directly or effectively. This can often be a byproduct of their family of origin, or even something that's been enabled in past relationships. When someone lacks the ability to express their needs clearly, they tend to suppress or mask their emotions instead of expressing them in a mature, responsible way. And over time, that creates the perfect environment for resentment to take root. One place where this shows up a lot is in romantic relationships. You'll often hear one partner say, "I shouldn't have to tell you what I need. You should just know." Now pause. It's one thing if you're the type of partner who is expressing your needs clearly, consistently, and your partner still doesn't show up. That's a different issue. But it's another thing entirely if you're expecting someone to automatically share your expectations or values without ever having a mature, compromising conversation about those values. Another way resentment can reveal emotional immaturity is through a person's refusal to be vulnerable. Again, this often goes back to one's family of origin. Resentment protects the individual from the discomfort of admitting pain or fear. For someone who's emotionally underdeveloped, vulnerability can feel like weakness. So instead of saying, "Hey, I really felt hurt by you," they actually use resentment as emotional armor. Finally, resentment can also grow out of the possession of unrealistic expectations. Emotional maturity means accepting that people are imperfect and that relationships often require ongoing negotiation and compromise. When someone expects their partner to meet unspoken idealized standards, the disappointment silently festers into resentment. In short, resentment isn't just about what others do or don't do. It can also be a signal that we haven't yet learned how to own, express, or resolve our emotions in a direct and self-aware way. So how do we begin to heal from resentment? The first step is to acknowledge it. You can't heal what you won't name. That means slowing down enough to honestly recognize what you're feeling. The anger, the sadness, the fear, and the unmet need underneath it all. Ask yourself, what is it that I needed that I never received? When you can identify that unmet need, you can start communicating from a place of honesty instead of accusation. The second step is learning how to express your emotions safely, clearly. That doesn't mean venting or blaming. It means communicating vulnerably, using phrases like, "When this happens, I feel," or "What I really need from you is." Those kinds of statements invite dialogue instead of defensiveness. The third step is practicing forgiveness, not as a one-time event, but as an ongoing decision to release the power that hurt has over you. One way of doing this is by looking for the good within the other individual. This means doing the work of trying to find anything praiseworthy or notable within the other person. And finally, seek support. Resentment thrives in isolation, but it loses its grip when we process it with someone safe, a counselor, or a trusted friend, or even with a faith-based community. Healing takes time, but it always starts with awareness, honesty, and the courage to take the first step towards change. If you're finding yourself weighed down by resentment, don't face it alone. Consider reaching out to someone who can help you process those emotions and rebuild the trust that's been lost. And if this video was in any way helpful, like it or share it, and follow us on Facebook for more conversations about mental health and relationships. So until next time, you guys, thanks for watching, and God bless.